On today's show, we got some trade ideas for the Dallas Mavericks and the latest rumors about the Dallas Mavericks went after Deandre Ayton. They also went after Tobias Harris. Also, we'll give our first impressions of the Dallas Mavericks rookies at their introductory press conference. And Kyrie Irving and Tim Hardaway Jr. are changing numbers. So much on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks.
Mavericks, NBA champions. It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show and making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. Join the Raccoon Squad, be an everyday, or subscribe or follow for free. Just search Locked On Mavericks wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. Where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section. What was your first impression of the Mavs rookies today at their press conference? You can watch it on a bunch of different places. The Mavericks, I think, uploaded it. If you want to support the show, text us, get text alerts from us. I was texting with some people today. You get actual real text to your phone from us, and we'll send out messages and all kinds of stuff. Subscribe to our subtext. Click the link in the description or text the number in the description below. And joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, and contributor at Mavs.com, the trade machine macho man, the one more thing king. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Hold on, I just want to make sure my Omax tattoo isn't showing yet. It has some treatment stuff on it. Nick, this week is such a big week. You know how many guys' lives are going to change this week because of it being such a big week? All of them positioning themselves to go after for a ring at the end of it. The Bachelorette, premiere
I knew it.
Anyone smell anything smoky?
I knew it.
Was yesterday, so I just want to get that out there. Got some prospects going for charity. She seems pretty great, but I don't know. I'm pretty skeptical about some of these guys.
Who drinks more wine over the course of this next week? The contestants of The Bachelor or the NBA players that are waiting and hoping to either get traded or not get traded?
I mean, on The Bachelor, just down in tequila. So,
yeah, drink anything, I guess.
Yeah. But no, we got to hang out with Omax and Dereck Lively today at their opening presser.
Guys, Isaac was in the same room as Omax.
I was texting people about him. It was just so cool to
Olivier-Maxence Prosper.
Yeah.
Maxence, not Maxence. Maxence. So we got a lot of stuff to get into today, of course. We'll talk about their introductory press conference. Dereck Lively, Omax, we both asked questions to them about their future with the Mavericks. We heard some things from Nico Harrison and Jason Kidd as well. Also, Kyrie Irving requested a numbers change, and so did Tim Hardaway. And Dereck Lively now has Kyrie's old number 2. We'll talk about that. And we'll get into all that today. But first, let's get into some rumors. According to Chris Haynes, not too long ago, no idea what time frame that means, but not too long ago, the Mavs made a real serious play for Deandre Ayton. It was not approved. The Suns didn't feel like it was a good enough package. Isaac Harris, when do you think this trade happened? And why do you think it didn't go through?
I think it happened before the draft. I would just be shocked if they tried to trade for him after the draft. And I think the reason it didn't go through is probably included Bertans. And it was, Bertans' contract with Tim, or, a collection of a couple of the other guys. And however long it means, like not too long ago. I mean, the draft was just Thursday, it was less than a week ago. So I would assume that report was before that.
I do too. As soon as Dereck Lively got drafted on draft night, we both kind of looked at each other, not at the same time because we weren't together, but said, I don't think they're going after a DeAndre Ayton or a Jarrett Allen or somebody like that. They've got their center of the future. Now, it may take a couple years for him, or he could end up being really good and when like a Walker Kessler, and you were like, all right, we got to start this guy, but all of a sudden we have $35 million of DeAndre Ayton in front of him. That would be a problem for the Mavericks. So we thought that, all right, they're kind of out of this DeAndre Ayton thing. So I agree with you. I think that happened before the draft. And yeah, the package probably did include Bertans, but even if it was a Tim I mean, a Tim, Reggie, Maxey, that one probably goes through. But
they're probably doing that.
I think they would do that. But the Suns didn't get anything what they wanted. If we learned anything from the John Collins trade today, the price of guys that have bigger contracts than what they should get, or even Jordan Poole, like those guys are not going for anything right now. Like these guys are these huge contracts that aren't living up to the bill.
Or just trades in general. I think our whole minds are going to be blown because of the CBA stuff. So we're going to talk about a lot of trades today. And there's, it never fails. People are going to be in the comments and they're like, dude, this trade sucks. It's like, okay.
So did the Beal one.
You know what trade sucked? John Collins for Rudy Gay. Like, come on. Like, John Collins isn't that bad. Anyway, keep going.
That one was ridiculous. And it's because there's an incentive from both sides. The incentive was, well, the Jazz just want to take a risk on somebody, and they have cap space, and so they're not going to get anybody better than John Collins in that cap space. And the Hawks needed to get off that contract because they're in the tax, and they don't want to be in the tax because their team is not good enough for them to be in the tax, they don't think. And ownership has come down on the front office and said that. Other rumors. The Mavs also looked into a Tobias Harris trade, according to our friend, Locked On Sixers host Keith Pompey.
Keith Pompey also reported the asking price from Morey from Cleveland, right?
I think so. That it was Mobley, and it was a first round pick, and there was one. Who else was in it?
I think it was Jared Allen. Wasn't it?
Morey is a madman. He's just a madman. But the Tobias Harris one, I think is, I don't know. They don't have the contracts to put together. It would, again, have to be a...
Well, no, they could. Yeah. I mean, they very well could. I think the question for that is like, who's better, Tim or Tobias? And like, do you want a bigger 6'9" version of Tim possibly in Tobias? Because then you could do, Tim and add another piece. But I just don't think it's worth it at this point. I think that was a pre-draft trade also, because I think Bertans would have had to be in that deal.
Yeah, because just to put the salaries together in order to make it work, like it would have to be like Tim, and then at least one of Maxey and Reggie would have to be in it now, because they just don't have the salaries to make it work out of them. I mean, Rashawn Holmes, I guess, could be in it. Can he be aggregated in a trade?
Now, I was actually talking with somebody today at the presser, because I was a little confused on, we can't talk about Holmes or Bertans yet, but we can talk. Omax can be there. Yeah. And so we were kind of just talking through that and how the NBA sets that up with the old CBA of this like special clause of like, it's going to get really confusing, but
if they could put Rashawn Holmes in there, it'd have to be Tim, Rashawn Holmes, and Maxey. And like, would you rather have that, or would you rather have Maxey? And it's like, or would you rather have Tobias Harris? And I don't know. You go back and forth.
No, I would take what we have now.
Tim McMahon also reported, we kind of knew this already, I think we've talked about this, that the Mavericks turned down a Clint Capela trade at the draft. Remember, they were going to trade down from 10 to 15, get Clint Capela. The Hawks asked for Josh Green and Jaden Hardy. The Hawks also were talking to the Mavericks about a DeAndre Hunter trade, and it was kind of the same thing. Did the Mavericks make the right choice in not trading down with the Hawks and giving up one of Josh Green or Jaden Hardy?
Yes, they should have held on to them in a deal like that. Although I am a big DeAndre Hunter fan, but I think I'm probably a little bit more of a fan than what some people in the front office are at the contract that he's at.
DeAndre Hunter's making a lot. He's making 20 to 24
he's
million.
Making a lot, but yeah, I mean it's not that much. It's not like he's a Tobias Harris in the 30s and stuff. Like 20 million.
Tobias is making 40 million this year
in this economy.
Correct. It's inflation, but he's making that for a long time, and he's just not worth it. Like, he's not going to sniff an all defensive team. He's not going to be anywhere close to an all-star. Like, it's just
DeAndre Hunter. I think he could sniff an all defensive team. I don't know. I still got some stock on that island. Okay. I'm doing good right now because Omax Island is hopping, and the property is went up in value a lot.
Mark Stein also reported the Mavs looked into a Naz Reid contract before he got re-signed with the Timberwolves, which he got re-signed just over what the Mavericks were able to offer him. But the Mavericks were also in on that, and that has now fallen through since he's going back to the Timberwolves. So that was an interesting one to me.
He would have been great in Dallas. I like him a lot. But Minnesota needed another center, so he'll be good there.
I talked to Howard Beck today on Locked On NBA about that. So if you want to hear anything more about that, and if there's going to be a Karl-Anthony Towns trade, go listen to Locked On NBA. But if you want to stay here and hear about some trades, Isaac's got some trades he's been cooking up. The trade machine maniac is cooking. So let's let him cook. And coming up, we'll give you some Mavs trades. But before we do, let me tell you about eBay Motors. eBay Motors has you covered for all the parts that you need for your car. Listen, my air conditioning is not working in my car. It's quite honestly the worst thing that could happen at this point. It's 100 and several degrees.
We're under like an extreme heat warning.
It's very bad. I don't know how to fix it myself, and if I did, I would go to eBay Motors because they have the right parts that fit just right. So the next time that you need parts and accessories, if you know how to fix it yourself, head to eBay Motors with the eBay Guaranteed Fit. You can be sure that every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage. Look for the green check, and your part will fit or your money back, because just like in sports, confidence, baby, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. So get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay, guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, exclusions, they do apply. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, making us part of your day, being part of this show, part of the Raccoon Squad. We appreciate each and every one of you. Tomorrow, we'll talk about more trades, more rumors. I mean, we're cooking daily. Nobody else does it. I know there's only one Mavericks podcast, but this is one of the only ones. Shout out to Tim Cato. All right, Isaac Harris, trade machine maniac. Give me some Mavs trades. What could the Mavs do in free agency?
Well, I think Tim's name's going to get tossed around a lot with some trade rumors. If they do a trade, I think
Cato?
No.
Okay.
I think Tim Hardaway. And listen, it's all because Dallas needs to do a couple things. They need to fill a couple different holes, and one of those is the bigger wing spot or the stopgap center. And so there's only so many ways you can do that. Also, when you look at why Tim could be expendable on this team, is he fits in this role off the bench, but it's also the same type of role that Jaden Hardy could play. So if you're really big on Jaden Hardy taking a big leap next season, then there's kind of a person in his way right now, and Tim Hardaway coming off the bench, and you say, all right, why can't Tim start? Because your two best players are Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, who are not the best defensive anchors on a team, and Tim is shockingly not a great defender. So you don't theoretically want to have three non-defenders in your starting lineup. So therefore,
anymore.
Yes. Therefore, making Tim Hardaway's contract something that will probably be shopped over the coming weeks, this week, and all that. And if we operate under the assumption that Dallas wants to get those wings, maybe a stopgap center, maybe a third ball handler, how can you take the Tim Hardaway contract and do that? So I know we talked about, do you want to recap or do you want to retouch on any of the trades we talked about yesterday? Like my favorite one right now is Tim Hardaway for Markelle Fultz. I think it works on both sides.
The numbers match up. It makes sense for Orlando because they have Anthony Black coming in and they have Jalen Suggs still. They're not going to sell on Jalen Suggs this early, I don't think. And Cole Anthony still. Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner have the ball in their hands. Like they've got to move one of those guards.
They need more shooting.
They do need more shooting. And so this swap could make sense for both. Gives the Mavericks a third ball handler. And Markelle Fultz definitely a better defensive player than what Tim Hardaway is. And so you're getting something that you need. Also, Markelle Fultz is only 1 year. So are the Magic going to pay Markelle Fultz? Maybe they decide to pay Markelle Fultz and decide to go that direction. But that one was an interesting one from yesterday.
Yeah. So let's talk about a couple other ones. Here's a smaller one. We know the Cavs were somewhat interested in Tim Hardaway last year. Would Dallas be interested in a Chetty and a Coro for Tim Hardaway type move? Karis LeVert's going to be a free agent, so he can go elsewhere. So if they want to add Tim's shooting, is that enough for Tim if you're Dallas? You get a bigger wing in Chetty who can come off the bench. You get an Okoro who is, former top 10 pick just a handful of years ago. Really can't shoot, but he is a defender. I don't know. I don't know where I'm at. I'm kind of on the fence on that one.
I think the Mavericks should do it just to split up Tim's contract. You get Okoro's a restricted free agent next year. That becomes a little difficult to try and figure out all right, we got to figure out what we got in this guy in 1 year. And then Chetty, he's got a non-guaranteed this year, and then he'll be an unrestricted free agent. So you could just get Tim's money off the books and then split him into two guys that can do some stuff for you. But should you be trading with a team that struggles on the wing to bring that in? I don't know. Okoro would definitely be better defensively than anything the Mavericks had. If they're interested in a Matisse Thybulle type, then Okoro would fit that bill for sure to be that type of player. I don't think the Cavs would do it. Because of Okoro, he still has upside. He's only 23. That's where I think they go. But if they don't want to pay him and they do need shooting really badly, and they were interested in Tim, then maybe that's something they do.
Here's one. What if the Clippers really are in on the camp of like, hey, we just want to run this thing back. Kawhi and Paul George, they have one more guaranteed year left. Then they have a player option on that next year. What if they just want to swap out Norm Powell's contract with a similar type player to just be on the same timeline as Paul George and Kawhi? And it's just Norm Powell for Tim Hardaway.
Did you check our subtext today?
I have not. No.
Somebody sent this one to you. You better talk about a Tim for Norm swap on the podcast today. Was that you? You trick me all the time because I don't know your number off the
I
top.
do like tricking you on there.
This one is Norm's definitely a better player than Tim. He's 30 though, so they're about the same age. Norm Powell's older than you think he is, and he's got 18 million next year, 19.2 million the year after that, 20.4 the year after that, and you're just swapping out different skill sets.
I would do it.
I would do it if I'm the Mavericks. Yeah, I think that helps you. I don't know if I'd do it if I'm the Clippers, unless they want to low key get off some money because. Yeah,
well, that's why I said if they just wanted to line up the years to kind of like, hey, we got to figure this thing out in 2 years.
The only player under contract for them is Norman Powell in 2 years. So not next year, not the year after that, but the year after that. The only player under contract, Norman Powell making $20 million, and then Kobe Brown will be under contract for them, but on the rookie scale deal. So,
do you want some smaller ones, or do you want me to throw at you one about being a third team in a Towns deal?
Ooh, go big or go home.
All right, let's go big. Let's say Atlanta calls about Karl Anthony Towns. And let me just throw it at you. It's Karl Anthony Towns and JaVale. Why are you laughing?
Because the Hawks would just go from, all right, well, listen, we've got this big. He can shoot a little bit, but he doesn't really do a whole lot else for us. He's got this big contract we don't really like. It's not working for us. Let's just dump his ass. Now let's go get the bigger contract. Let's go get the bigger contract. That's a bigger, we'll just go and evolve our issue to a different player.
Anyway, Towns and JaVale to Atlanta. DeAndre Hunter and Tim Hardaway to Minnesota.
Wow.
Clint Capela to Dallas.
So the Mavericks are getting Clint Capela for Tim Hardaway and JaVale?
Yep, and JaVale.
100%. 100 times out of 100 I would do that. Who do you think says no in this one?
I think Minnesota, but for Minnesota, you're swapping out Towns for DeAndre Hunter and Tim Hardaway, and you see. I'm just higher on DeAndre Hunter, I think, because I would love DeAndre Hunter next to Rudy Gobert. You add some shooting in Tim, you still have obviously you have Ant to build around. I'm not really big into Karl Anthony Towns, so, and I can see Atlanta being like Hunter and Capela for Towns, and now it's like Towns and Trey. And anyway, can I give you another Towns one?
I think Minnesota says no to that one because they have to value him more because they just gave up so much for Gobert that they can't be ridiculed again in a trade like that. But the Mavs should do that 100 times out of 100.
All right, I have another Towns one. Towns, Tim Hardaway, and JaVale to the Clippers.
Whew.
Paul George to the Timberwolves. Zubats and Kyle Anderson to the Mavs.
Yeah, that one's a good one, I think, because you could see the Timberwolves talking themselves into Paul George for Cat. Okay, we're switching out stuff that actually makes sense. So what are the Timberwolves are getting Paul George for Cat?
Paul George.
And the Clippers are giving up
for
Paul
Cat
George
and Kyle Anderson.
And Kyle Anderson, yeah.
Yeah, the Clippers are giving up Paul George and Zubats for Towns, Tim Hardaway, and JaVale.
And the Mavs are getting Zubats and Kyle Anderson for
my guy.
Yeah, your nemesis
for Tim and JaVale.
I mean, yeah, 100 times out of 100, the Mavs should do that for sure.
Okay, let me give you one more Towns one, then we can hit another break. Towns and JaVale to the Knicks. RJ Barrett and Maxey to Minnesota.
Okay.
Mitchell Robinson to Dallas.
Mitchell Robinson's interesting because he's a little younger, and then eventually you'd have the Lively versus Mitchell Robinson thing, which could be really fun.
For Dallas, it's Maxey and JaVale for Mitchell Robinson.
They should.
Minnesota would really have to value RJ Barrett in this scenario.
Yeah.
So I'm not in love with this one, but
Barrett and Anthony Edwards together is interesting. The Knicks going after him just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, all the connections in there. So
Towns, Randall, front court, the battle of the fours from Kentucky.
My favorite trade stuff right now is obviously the Tim for Markelle, but obviously the Boston stuff too that I mentioned on yesterday's pod.
Yes.
I'd be calling about Rob Williams with Porzingis, Horford, Rob Williams, all there. I would be calling and them losing Marcus Smart. I'd be calling them right now and talking about the, hey, can we get Rob Williams and Pritchard for Tim? Like, do you need more shooting around those guys? Is it a Reggie Bullock for Rob Williams swap? Yeah, I would just be on the phone with Boston about Rob Williams right now. I think he'd be a great stopgap guy in front of Lively, who does all the things you want at the center spot to play with Luka, and then like he could still get benched when Lively is.
Yeah, I can hear Bill Simmons now. The Mavericks just drafted a center. Now they're gonna trade for another one. Like what doesn't make any sense in Dallas.
We traded for Ray Allen. Now we have Tim Hardaway. I could see it. I could see it right now. Nothing's going to bring me more life than Bill. The first, I swear, we're
never getting hired by the Ringer ever. After this week,
I cannot wait for the Bill Porzingis relationship this year. The first time Porzingis gets it in the post and a 6'5" guy bodies him in the post and he bricks a turnaround pull up. Bill's like, all right, I can't do. My dad texted me and said Porzingis just can't do a turnaround jump hook. Anyway,
can we get Kareem to teach Porzingis? Can we bring back McHale? That's what he's gonna say. All right, coming up, let's talk about the introductory press conference from Dereck Lively and Olivier-Maxence Prosper. What do we hear? Why is Kyrie and Tim Hardaway changing numbers? Talk about that coming up. All right, Isaac Harris, we were both in attendance at the introductory press conference for Dereck Lively II and Olivier-Maxence Prosper. I think I'm going to pronounce the "ons" every time. Like, it just feels right. Dereck Lively will wear number 2. Olivier-Maxence Prosper will wear number 18. And you're probably thinking, well, didn't Kyrie wear number 2 last year? That is correct. And so after the presser, basically, soon as everyone was done asking questions, or let's say your colleague from the Smoking Cuban asked a question about their numbers, and Scott Tomlin, Mavs PR director, friend of the pod, has been on the show before, came up and said, that's a great place for us to stop and say that we have an announcement to make. He said, Tim Hardaway. And as soon as he said Tim Hardaway, I was like, oh my God, did they just trade Tim Hardaway in the middle of this? I
didn't know what Scott was doing. He just had a piece of paper and he's like, we got an announcement to make with this. And I was like, what? Did a trade just happen that we just don't know? And then he went through the number changes. Basically, it was like, hey, you're about to see a number 2 jersey up here. Let me explain how it's going to happen.
And so Tim Hardaway has requested the number 10. Kyrie Irving is now getting Tim Hardaway's old number of 11, and Dereck Lively is getting the number of 2. Okay, my question, though. Does this tell us that Kyrie Irving is back?
Or it tells you that he's leaving, and they just gave... No,
it does go either way, though. If you're going to go tinfoil hat, and decide, okay, well, if he requested a new number, that means that he must be back. Well, also, if he requested a new number, it could mean Dereck Lively was like, hey, can I have 2? And Kyrie was like, don't matter, I'm leaving, so go ahead and have my number. It doesn't matter.
No, I think it's the other way. I think it's another breadcrumb to, hey, he's coming back. Like, now, one of these things, there's also a timeline thing for when you request numbers. So, this, not to rain on people's parade, but like this could have been a long time ago too, to where it's like, hey, we're going to go ahead and put this request in, like after Kyrie came in and, Tim wanted to move. Like there was obviously a conversation between Tim and Kyrie about 11. So, now I'm pretty sure Tim Sr. wore 10 in Dallas. Could be wrong on that, but I think he did. But it feels like Tim and Kyrie had a conversation about 11. It's like, all right, yeah, we'll do this. And to where Kyrie could get number 11 back. So
you're not buying it?
No, I think it's another breadcrumb to him coming back. And
okay, so you lean towards it does mean that Kyrie's coming back.
I've been pretty adamant the whole time that I think he's coming back.
Tim Hardaway Sr. did wear number 10 for the Mavericks.
Let's go.
Back in 2002, which was
now we just need him at every game.
21 years ago.
Speaking of that, one of the funnier moments today of the presser was Omax talking about the 2011 finals, and he's like, I think it was like 10 or 9, and Jason Kidd's next to him just like laughing, and all the older people in the crowd just start chuckling at his youthfulness at the finals run.
So good. But what was your first impression for them? For me, just hearing them talk and hearing them talk about how they're just very thoughtful. It feels like it was very striking to me seeing Dereck Lively's mother in the first row. Like they reserved the first row for family members and agents, and to see Dereck Lively's mom and to like after hearing her story on that ESPN piece and then reading it and just hearing how much of an impact she's had. She's dealt with cancer for 12 years. She's in remission and doing great now. But just the stuff that family has gone through, that like really stuck out to me. And then hearing Dereck Lively talk about it, that's his story, and then hearing him say what motivates him and things like that. They're just very mature, thoughtful, like people. And hearing that story from Lively about his family, about his mom, what motivates him, and then hearing Omax talk about his sister who plays and has a goal to be the WNBA and how thoughtful he was about his sister was really striking to me of just how like mature and thoughtful these two guys are.
Yeah, you saw immediately. I mean, one of the things you always heard about Omax was just his interviews and how good of a dude that he was coming across to all the teams. And you saw that firsthand. I mean, I said, to you today walking out, I was like, man, he reminds me of Dwight Powell. Like why the people love Dwight Powell of like his work ethic and but also just how smart he is and how he communicates. I mean, Omax basically dominated this press conference today because I mean, he answered almost every question, and just really thoughtful, like you said, just a great quote, and just smiling all the time. Like fans are literally going to fall in love with this guy. Like he's just going to be, you're not going to be able to dislike him at all.
He's so likable. I wanted to ask both of them about their goals, about their career, because I wanted to see what they think about and what they're looking towards. When we heard Luka's goals on that Bleacher Report video, when he was a rookie and he goes, I want to dunk on Porzingis. I want to be king of New York. I want to, win an NBA championship, make the playoffs, like all those things we heard. It just gave us an insight into Luka. And Omax immediately, he answered the question first because Dereck Lively was totally fine with Omax answering all the questions today too. Yeah. He just kind of nodded at him and let him go. Omax talked about impacting winning from day one. As best as I can, I want to come in and do my best to impact winning day one. To me, they said that they had just had dinner with Nico and Jason Kidd the night before and had like a team, like not a team dinner, but like a front office and coaches and those two rookies dinner. And I think they talked all about, all right, this is what you're getting yourself into. This is the Mavericks. This is where we are. This is what your spot is going to be. And like they know what situation they're getting. Omax talking about impacting winning day one, like that specific thing from him, to me makes it sound like they know what situation they're in. They know what their role is going to be. They know what, at least as far as their role when they get on the court. I don't know how much time they're going to play or if Dereck Lively is going to start. I don't think anybody knows that at this point. But I think that they know what they're getting themselves into basketball-wise.
Yeah, I mean, even, the question I asked them both today was like, how do you think your skill set will translate to playoff basketball? And, Omax directly referenced, look at what Christian Brown did for Denver and just the hustle and doing all the little things and the defense. And that's where I've seen some, some of the quote going around about him saying, nobody's going to want it more than me out there.
Love that.
And it just, yeah, I mean, you just makes you want to run through a brick wall for him right now. So yeah, I think they're very. I feel like they both kind of reference, or at least I think there was one time Omax looked at Lively and kind of they're both saying like, yeah, we're here to catch lobs, play defense, do the dirty work, all that stuff. So it feels like they're very aware. Now they're saying the right things. You should, but they're very aware of their role.
Yeah, they're also still in the mode of draft process, so you can tell that they're like answering all the questions the right way. That's why I wanted.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's cool because they reference multiple times how they're doing this together.
Yeah,
and how important it is. Like they're doing all this stuff that they have somebody to walk through this together with. That they're experiencing all this the first time, and I think it was Lively who said, "Dude, we're gonna be brothers. Like, we're going to do all this thing together."
One of the questions I wanted to ask was how Dereck Lively contextualizes his season at Duke. He averaged 5 points, 5 rebounds. If a casual fan looks at that, they're going to be like, who did we just draft? The guy that averaged 5 points, 5 rebounds? And I didn't ask it, but Nui Scruggs of NBC asked the question, Dereck, you weren't 100% healthy at Duke. Do you feel like we didn't get the best out of you and we will in the NBA now? And he just looked at Nui Scruggs, leaned into the mic and said, yes, and nodded his head, and that's it. That's all he said was yes. I think he's very motivated, and I think that he doesn't think he gave everything that he can at Duke, and was, I don't know if not given a fair shake, but just was held back by his injury, by the system or whatever. And I think that that's going to motivate him in the NBA too. And we may see a better Dereck Lively than we expect because he was held back at Duke. I think the Kentucky bump can be said the same about some Duke guys too.
Well, I mean, I still say I've been saying the prediction all along. He's going to go in summer league and he's going to hit 3 or 4 threes in a game, and everybody's going to freak out. Yeah. But the Tyson Chandler comp was brought up today, and Kid joked about it. He's like, "Hey, like Tyson, Tyson wouldn't like to admit this probably." He said, "But Dereck is a better shooter, and Dereck can shoot." So I think it's just another testament that they're not expecting him to be a stretch 5, but I think we're going to see him, step out there a little bit and take some threes.
Try it. Yeah, you might as well. Jason Kidd also said that Tyson Chandler, he said, now, you have to remember, Tyson Chandler came into the NBA as a 3. And I was like, do we remember that? Is that what we remember? I remember him coming in with Eddie Curry in the Bulls and him playing the 4 next to Eddie Curry, but I don't remember him being a 3. He did come right out of high school, but he probably played it in high school. But
high school Tyson has some nasty highlights.
The line of the press conference though was Jason Kidd. He said, when you watch layup lines, it won't just be layups anymore. There's going to be there's going to be real dunks because they added some athleticism and some bigger guys.
Yeah, I love that line. It was great, and just he was asked directly about just having the young guys and this young little core here that we should have a lot of fun with in summer league. Yeah, there was just so many different things. There were some smaller things, Omax talking about like an anime. Omax, saying likes playing board games with his family. Yeah. They seem like they have a really tight knit family, which seems pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, we could go all day on different things
Yeah, it was great stuff. Let us know what your first impression was of these two guys in the comments below. Also, let us know what you think about some of those trades we mentioned. And we'll be back tomorrow talking more trades. We'll have rumors probably tomorrow. There's all kinds of stuff leading up to free agency. Free agency is Friday. We'll continue all through. We'll have a Friday night pod and all that. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.